Knight Silksong has over 21 blue tools to choose from, and that sounds good on paper, but the reality is that only a handful are actively used. The goal of this video is to highlight why some blue tools are underperforming while also attempting to provide a solution to make them more viable. I recently made a poll asking which blue tool was the worst one, and it helped me gather some intel about the reason why specific tools aren't used that often. Let's take the Egg of Lydia for example. This tool decreases the cost of silk skills while remaining at full health. In normal conditions, having a fully upgraded silk spool will allow you to cast 4 silk skills with each cast consuming 4 shells. With the Egg of Lydia equipped, each silk skill now consumes 3 shells, and you can now cast 6 skills instead of 4. This would have been amazing if it wasn't for the fact that you still need to remain at full health for the tool to work. Let's say you get hit by an enemy dealing double damage. You can either heal 2 masks right away and waste 1 mask worth of heal to trigger the egg, or wait until you get hit again to heal 3 masks. The problem right now is that both options suck, since healing prematurely is a waste of mask and delaying your heals will require more heals to activate the egg. This is always going to be a lose-lose situation unless you never get hit. Additionally, this blue tool only works well with the Shaman crest, since any other blue tool is better on the remaining crests. You wouldn't want to sacrifice a valuable slot for a tool which requires too much gymnastics to be functional. A way to make the egg more viable would be to remove the max health requirement and decrease the silk shell cost regardless of how much health you have. This change alone will not be enough to make it more useful on other crests, which is why I suggest adding another benefit. Every time you land a needle attack, you get either twice as much silk, or actually 1.5 if twice is too much. This will personally make a huge difference, because even if you don't want to rely on silk skills, you can still use the egg to generate more silk and bind more often. Imagine the potential on the beast crest, which can allow you to enter fury maybe 2 more times. I think I will definitely use the egg of Lydia if it means more growls from Hornet. Next we have the Snitch Peak. This one is straight up terrible. The Snitch Peak grants you rosaries and shards while also dealing additional damage when using Clawline. What you don't know is that the stolen rosaries are extracted from the overall number of rosaries you would get from the enemy. I made some tests on the Grand Raid, for example. Defeating this enemy would usually reward you with 32 rosaries, but somehow with Snitch Peak equipped, the number of rosaries I acquired from the encounter was 30. Effectively, this tool made me lose money, which is terrible. The damage is also so insignificant that it doesn't justify using it in the first place. In fact, as a rule of thumb, I will try my best to not suggest any fix which boils down to increasing the damage, because that's just boring and sometimes won't fix the core issues with those tools. When it comes to Snitch Peak, one way to make it more valuable would be to fully lean into making this item a farming tool. I don't think it is possible to acquire every single item in Silksong without farming. Having an additional tool, which makes this process more effective, is bound to become more popular. Basically, you now steal 20% of the set amount of rosaries you would normally get from an enemy. If that one enemy was supposed to drop 20 rosaries for example, you can now get 4 rosaries every single time you use Clawline. But let's say you steal 20 rosaries before the enemy dies. Well, you no longer receive rosaries, but the enemy will still drop the initial number of rosaries that was supposed to drop. So 20. What does this mean? Well, we just doubled how much money you would get by also cutting in half the amount of time it would take you to farm, provided you make the most out of Clawline before the enemy dies. This doesn't stop there, since a lot of enemies do not drop shards or rosaries at all. In this case, using Clawline should net you 5 shards every time the attack connects. Everything is expensive in Falun, so I'm pretty sure those enemies are hiding money or shards in their pockets. It will also allow you to use your raid tools more often, so you don't have to take a break between boss fights to, farm. I thought about allowing Snitch Peak to extend the range of Clawline, but maybe that would be too much. I don't know, you'll be the judge. Next we have everybody's favorite, Wisp Spire Lantern. Wisp will spawn from the lantern and burn foes at the cost of silk. This tool was buffed in the recent update, increasing its overall damage. Do let me know if this is enough to make you want to equip this tool. I still don't think I would ditch any other tool in order to use this Wisp Spire Lantern. The problem is not the damage, but rather the way this tool behaves. The way I see it, they should just make it a red tool and just give you more control over when you want the wisp to spawn. But since this is a blue tool, we have limited ways to improve it without mandating a full rework. The lantern has two downsides: the rate at which the wisp spawn and the accuracy. I have 153 hours in Silksong and I'm yet to see the cloakflies miss my foes even once. Use the Wisp Spire Lantern for less than a minute and it will probably miss a single target twice. The fact that this tool is this inconsistent is a huge drawback. Fixing this will make the tool more reliable, but not enough to be useful. How do we turn the lantern into a must-have? Make it so that whenever you hit a burning enemy, you temporarily start burning yourself. While burning, you get a boost to your attack speed and we spawn twice as fast, but you also are unable to generate more silk until you stop burning. This change is aimed toward making the lantern a more oppressive tool, which is why I would nerf its damage to its original value, since you would now benefit from the increased attack speed. Keep in mind that your movement speed will not be affected while burning. That said, whether or not the burning state can stack with the flame rule is up to you. I have one more suggestion, which is just too cool to not be shared. Imagine if there was a special interaction with Flint Slate. Basically, whenever you have both the Wisp Lantern and Flint Slate equipped, your flames now become blue and are more prominent. This will purely remain a visual change as opposed to impacting gameplay in any way, but I don't know, something about a burning blue Hornet just makes me so happy. Another tool which desperately needs some love is Quick Sling. Most of the time, having Quick Sling is a detriment as opposed to an advantage. This tool doubles the number of tools thrown. The problem is that you do not always need or want to throw two tools instead of one. This will burn into your shard reserve pretty fast. I never used this tool until I acquired the Architect Crest, which allowed me to restock whenever I wanted to. This tool can be used on every crest, but I don't think most people would use it on anything which isn't the Architect. How do we fix this? Well, first of all, Quick Sling needs to work with every single red tool, not just the ones you throw. Make it so that whenever I'm using the flame rule or Flint Slate, I consume twice the amount, but also get double the duration. Quick Sling should also work with guns, like Silk Shot and the Rosary Cannon. You should be able to fire two projectiles at once, and you also should be able to reload your Rosary Cannon without having to sit on a bench. I also think you should still have a layer of control over how many tools you want to use, even with Quick Sling equipped. This will go a long way toward making it more viable for non-Architect crests, since you wouldn't have to worry as much about your child consumption. It could be quite tricky to implement, but think about it. What if holding the assigned button for red tools for half a second longer as opposed to tapping it would double the amount of tool used? So the longer I hold the button, the more tools I throw. I think that could work. That will definitely work, I think. Coming up next, Memory Crystal. When taking damage, a memory of the bearer is formed of crystal. The memory will shatter into sharp spines if an enemy comes into contact. This could be a very useful tool, especially in the gauntlet where you tend to get hit quite often. But that's the main problem with this tool. You need to get hit often to get value. But why would getting hit be a problem here when Druid's Eye also function the same way? The difference here is that the Druid's Eyes remain more consistent and rewards you from getting hit by allowing you to heal more even without landing any needle attack. Memory Crystal is a bit less consistent because it still needs to connect with the enemy to trigger, or you need to use a needle attack to make it trigger. I gotta be honest, I couldn't think about a way to make this tool better without a full rework. As long as this will require activation on hit, there isn't a lot we could do about it. Maybe we could extend both the radius and the duration of activated crystal memories to make them more consistent. Or maybe we could make it so that as long as there is one active memory, you do not take more than one mass worth of damage. But the crystal decay twice as fast and have a cooldown, a very short cooldown, before they can activate again. As you can see, not a lot of ways to make it more useful without breaking the game. Now I want to talk about the tools which are slightly more popular but still need just a little bit of love to be great. Reserve bind will store one bind worth of silk which can be replenished by sitting on the bench. What if any exceeding silk was stored within the reserve, removing the need to use a bench every single time? Of course, you will only be able to replenish your reserve once your spool is full. I think this could definitely work because you will still need to not use your silk in order to make more silk. Wave light increases the speed of silk regeneration, which can be very helpful when trying to use clawline often, specifically in Mount Fae. This tool has one major issue. You cannot regenerate more than 4 silk shells, which means that wave light is completely useless unless you have less than 4 shells. Just remove that limitation, allow the regeneration to occur no matter how many shells you have, and voila! A tool people may use often, even over the injector band. And finally, the Sawtooth Circlet. Before you attack me, I know this tool has been buffed recently, but I will tell you a secret. The reason why this tool wasn't popular had nothing to do with its damage. This is something I will elaborate on in another video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it. But basically, the problem with Sawtooth is all the gymnastics you have to do in order to use it. There is a crazy combo in the game which takes full advantage of the tool by combining poggos and jump cancels. I'm going to let this fellow creator explain what you have to do.
You can do pogo into a double jump cancel, into a downward dash cancel to adjust the height, and then into another pogo. This might be one of the combos with the highest DPS out there, but it's really freaking hard to do.
Yeah, no. Listen, do you know why the injector band and the poly pouch are so good? Because you equip them and they just work. You don't have to become autistic just to use a tool. I'm pretty sure that this tech will be quite efficient to speedrun a potential pantheon of Farnum. However, the casual player will not be doing all that. I will end this video with a question. What would you change about the Sawtooth Circlet without breaking the game? Keep in mind that increasing the damage is not an option. Balancing a game is way harder than I thought since you need to take into account so many parameters. Despite your best intentions, some tools will always be more popular. This is why I would rather have every single tool be broken rather than having only a handful broken. You know what they say, the more the merrier. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, drop a like and have a good day. Peace.